When I think back to Knight Rider, which I've already covered the reboot of, and really I should take a proper look at the original soon, I'm reminded how the 80s had this wonderful era of televisual rivalry. I mean, it still exists, but these days it's more about how badly everything sucks. Back then, it wasn't enough for a show to just exist. It had to compete. You didn't just have one high-tech action series, you had a whole fleet of them vying for dominance, fighting not just for viewers, but for cultural bragging rights. Knight Rider wasn't alone in that regard. Just as Sliders had its rivalry with Quantum Leap, or how Doctor Who's revival once had Primeval nipping at its heels, hell, even the Munsters and the Addams family were duking it out decades earlier, Knight Rider had its own motorized nemesis. While Kit ruled the roads, Street Hawk was burning rubber in the streets, and up in the skies there was today's subject, a helicopter so advanced, so dangerous and so gloriously 80s that it practically roared with Cold War paranoia and turbocharged testosterone. These weren't just shows, they were statements. Each had its own tone, style and identity. Knight Rider gave us a talking car with a moral compass, Street Hawk strapped a vigilante to a bike that could break the sound barrier, and Airwolf, well, Airwolf was the big one. It took the high-tech hero formula and launched it straight into the stratosphere, backed by one of the best synth scores ever put to television. These shows weren't competing for realism, they were competing for cool. Each one had to go bigger, faster, louder, and more explosive than the last. It was the golden age of action television, when hardware had personality and the heroes piloting it had real flaws. Welcome to the Snake Pit, where we're full of bile and venom. I'm your host, Snake Daemon, and today we're taking to the skies with the lady herself, Airwolf. The fictional Airwolf wasn't just a helicopter, it was a weapon of mass entertainment, a supersonic prototype built for espionage, stealth and devastation. Conceived by Dr. Charles Henry Moffat, played by David Hemmings, a brilliant but sadistic engineer who liked to blend genius with madness, the chopper was commissioned by The Firm, a CIA offshoot with, honestly, more secrets than sense. Naturally, Moffat steals it, flees to Libya, and sells its services to Gaddafi. Because, well, in the 1980s, if you weren't fighting the Soviets, you were fighting the Middle East. That's when we meet Stringfellow Hawk, played by Jan Michael Vincent. Yes, that's his real name, and it's every bit as moody as it sounds. He's the brooding test pilot brought back by the government to steal Airwolf back from Moffat. Helping him is Dominic Santini, played by Ernest Borgnine, his father figure and old war buddy, who adds warmth and humanity to Hawk's quiet intensity. Together, they retrieve the lady. But when Moffat kills Hawk's love interest, Hawk retaliates by turning Airwolf's missile bays into his own personal judgment day. But here's where Airwolf becomes more than just an action series. Hawk doesn't give Airwolf back. Instead, he hides it away in the Lair, a secret desert cave, and uses it as leverage until the Firm finds his missing brother, John. It's a morally grey setup that captures the paranoia of the Cold War perfectly. A rogue patriot holding on to a weapon of mass destruction until the government gives him what he wants. It's part revenge tale, part espionage thriller, and part philosophical reflection on loyalty and trust. The first season is magnificent, dark, brooding, and wonderfully atmospheric. The Firm isn't portrayed as the good guys, they're bureaucratic manipulators in white suits claiming moral superiority. Hawk doesn't buy it. Santini's skeptical, and the viewer is left in that perfect grey zone where everyone's right, but nobody's clean. It's Knight Rider meets the Deer Hunter, and somehow it works. Then came CBS, and with them came the family-friendly directive. Season 2 softened the tone, trimmed the moral ambiguity, and made it more of a mission of the week series. The grit faded, replaced by sentimentality and simpler storytelling. And while it was still enjoyable, the danger and tension that made the first season so gripping were gone. It wasn't bad, but it lost its edge. And worse, it set the stage for the disaster that was Season 4. See, Airwolf was expensive, really expensive. The aerial cinematography was breathtaking, the stunts unmatched. The chopper itself, a heavily modified Bell 222, was filmed so convincingly that US officials actually suspected the designs were leaked from military blueprints. The show's stunt team shot hours of high-quality aerial footage, which was then reused throughout later episodes to save money. But when the series got canned after Season 3 and picked up by a Canadian network, the real damage began. The new season was, well, a budgetary car crash, recycled footage, cheap sets, a new cast, and, honestly, virtually no trace of the original creative spark. Jan Michael Vincent appeared for all of 5 minutes before being written out. Borgnine's character was unceremoniously killed off, and the once sleek lady was reduced to clips from earlier seasons spliced between, flat dialogue scenes. The production values plummeted so fast you'd swear it was a parody. Tragically, life imitated art. Vincent's career and personal life spiraled downward, and in one of those cruel twists of fate, the real helicopter used for Airwolf was later sold and destroyed in a crash while serving as a rescue vehicle. The lady truly died a hero's death. Yet for all its decline, Airwolf remains legendary. It was the ultimate expression of the tech hero genre, where machines were extensions of their pilots' souls, and where the Cold War's fear of technology merged with its fascination for it. The synth soundtrack by Sylvester LeVay remains one of television's greatest, dark, propulsive, and heroic. The cast had chemistry, the action was practical, and the stories, at least early on, carried a moral complexity that elevated it above simple 1980s schlock. Could Airwolf be remade today? Well, in theory, yes, but in practice, absolutely not. Today's reboots are honestly allergic to sincerity. They'd turn Stringfellow Hawk into a self-doubting activist with PTSD, the firm into a DEI think tank, and Airwolf itself into a drone run by a focus group. The magic would just be lost under a pile of CGI explosions and, hollow writing. The lady deserves better than that. Airwolf stands as a monument to a time when television dared to dream big, when action was real, heroes were flawed, and the machines were characters in their own right. It was unapologetically bold, beautifully shot, and brimming with energy. It may have crashed and burned in the end, but at least it soared higher than anything we get today. So that's Airwolf, a relic of a time when coolness wasn't calculated, it was earned. When shows didn't need to pander, and when audiences tuned in for excitement, not lectures. Long may the lady rest, high above the clouds, where the sound of her rotors still echoes across the golden age of television. Thanks for dropping by the Snake Pit, where we thrive on untapped potential and lost opportunities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, like the video, and leave your opinion in the comments, where naturally I won't read them. Until next time, stay venomous.